Welcome back. It is 8:49 a.m. and Logan Letimile is my guest. He's the founder, educational entrepreneur, and mathematics educator. Morgan, welcome. And I must say, what an impressive CV and what amazing achievement. I just think it is absolutely wonderful. And you are here to talk to us about something really important, and this is to understand, or the understanding that beats last minute cramming for South African learners. We'll get to that in a moment or two, but let's talk about your journey into the education space as an educator, and then also going on to having founded Sankofa Tutorial South Africa. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be with your guests. Yes, my name is Logan Letimile from Sankofa Tutorial SA. My journey into education actually it was by mistake. What I wanted to be a medical doctor. So I applied at the University of Pretoria for BSc in genetics. I was accepted, but because of financial reasons, I couldn't finish that degree. And then a few years later, I stumbled into NSFAS. And then when I learned about NSFAS, I then applied at VETS and at UJ. I didn't even apply for education, but both institutions took me for education. So that's how I entered the field. And then a few years later, while I was still in university, I started Sankofa Tutorial SA. That was back in 2014, February, at George Khoza Secondary School. And then I've been running it now for 12 years. That's how I got here.
Okay, so tell us, what is Sankofa Tutorial all about? Sankofa Tutorial South Africa. What is its core objectives regarding the education space?
Sankofa Tutorial's core objective is to bring quality into the tutorial space. That's the first thing. But the gap we are trying to fill in the market is the gap of understanding, like the subject matter of today. I also practice as an educator in the Department of Education at a school called Tsietsi Secondary School. When I was there, something stood out for me. I understood why learners had a problem. There's a document called the ATP by the government that structures what topics should be taught, but also by when should they start and by when should they finish. Now you find that teachers now just go through teaching activities, trying to cover the ATP at that prescribed time. And in so doing, a lot of learners get left behind academically. So I saw that there's a space here because there's a lot of misunderstanding from learners because of the issue of not enough time being allocated to a subject or a topic. So I thought with a tutorial, we'll have the freedom to give a topic enough time. And when I look around, most tutorials, they don't have qualified teachers. They're not. When you go into most tutorials, you find that someone with a good metric used to be very well at school, or a retired teacher who is doing it alone. But on an institutional level, you don't have a tutorial space whereby the employees are also educators with Bachelor of Education degrees. And then we only experiment with best practices in this field.
So we do have a huge situation or a huge problem in the education space, and I guess it starts from primary level, does it not? I mean, a couple of years ago, we had a report that suggested that upwards of 40 or 50 of our learners in the primary phases can't read to comprehend. And if you can't read to comprehend, you're not going to grasp concepts, and you're not going to go further in your schooling career, you might end up being a dropout because you don't understand what you're reading, you're not understanding the lessons at hand, etc. That's the one huge problem we're still grappling with in South Africa. The other issue is what you just indicated now, and that is ATPs to be covered in a specific time frame. But how can it be covered when our classrooms are overcrowded and we have unqualified teachers probably sitting with a class of 45 and above? We're never going to have results, are we? And we are failing our children and we are failing the future of South Africa.
Exactly the point. And it's monumental, this point that you just mentioned. This year, the University of Pretoria published another study that dealt with literacy and comprehension. And it said up to 81% of learners now from grade 1 to grade 6, I think, I stand to be corrected, but in the primary school phase, can't read for comprehension. Um, it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue because it means we are bringing up a cohort of people who won't be able to function in an economy that's getting more and more advanced, and it needs more and more high skilled laborers. So one of the issues that I think parents often overlook that comes into the comprehension issue is the cell phone. The cell phone has also contributed a lot in that space. I'm saying this because even now in Australia, they've started to now implement laws whereby you can't use these devices until you are 16 years and above. And I was speaking with one of my colleagues saying, we need to prepare for grade 1 and grade 2 reading and writing, because you find kids now who can't even speak. They have audio issues. They can't communicate at the age that they are supposed to, because of these things that are put in these programs. So it is becoming a very big issue. And the issue of unqualified teachers, that one in government schools is not so much a big thing, because now government, especially in Gauteng, starts it audits qualifications. The issue now that we have is the teachers who don't care. Teaching is a field where you need to be passionate. Now we have teachers who just go in it for money.
So, Tsietsi, let's look at other issues impacting on the learning of our children, which seems to be badly impacted. We've unpacked one or two issues here, and then I'm also going to ask you to share with us your impact and your vision with Sankofa tutorials, how we can close those gaps. And will those gaps be closed right across the board, government schools, including rural areas? So the two issues, additional issues I'd like to raise regarding education is early childhood development. Does that put a child on the back foot if they are not properly prepared at a very early stage in their lives? Is that responsibility on the parents or the community or government? And then the other big question, which I think has been bandied around for a very long time, and that is our indigenous population. Obviously, English is the second language. Does that then have an impact in these children starting school and being on the back foot simply because English is their second languages? And we're not saying do away with the indigenous languages. They're part of who we are. It's our culture, it's our tradition, it's who we truly are and who we identify with. It's our roots. So that is not an option at all. But it does pose the question, it might be impacting on the learners.
When let me begin with the language issue. When you read an educational researcher blog, and you also read Martha Kosa, they discuss this specific issue of language. English in itself it helps. It's a vehicle that helps us teach the subject. However, it's not the be all and end all. Now, when it comes to using a foreign language, one might say like an English language foreign to the child, there's a science to it. And the science to it is that you must not start a child with a foreign language before they are done with the fifth grade. They must be done with the fifth grade. So from elementary, from daycare to the fifth grade, the key thing is the mother tongue. The child must have a solid understanding of the mother tongue. And I'll try to explain this very quick as to why. When I say a word to you in a foreign language, the first thing your brain does, it takes it and tries to find what it means in your own language so that it can understand what it means. Then it translates it back to the foreign language. So if you don't have a solid home language, when you get an additional language, that's where the gap is created. So that's the first one, then we pack it there. And then the second one is the one on, is it important for learners to begin early on uh, with daycare? The daycare thing, I do believe in it, because when you look at China is one of the leading countries in education. They begin their daycare program very, very early, and they start teaching mathematics very, very early on. I have a friend who's practicing there in China, and when I was speaking to her, she was telling me that in China, from the age of 2 3, learners are already being taught mathematics and things like that. So yes, that's a key component that must be focused on. And then lastly, teaching a learner, you can't teach a human being. You can only present an experience and hope that they understand the experience. And you need two fundamental things in order for a human being to even listen to you. You need to care. They need to understand that you care for their well-being, which is a very important missing factor in education. Teachers don't care anymore. And then the second thing, you need good communicators in the classroom who can communicate, who know how to communicate effectively. Because some teachers, you find, they're passionate, they love the profession, but they're so bad in communication that the learners are like, we don't understand. The teacher is passionate, the teacher is there, the teacher is in the classroom. Now you compound it with the overcrowded classrooms and other dynamics like that, then it becomes a very huge problem.
So, is this the model that you are using since returning to lead Sankofa tutorial full time? That you make sure that you have teachers in a classroom with passion. They themselves need to have the understanding of their subject matter, because if I don't understand what I'm teaching, the kids are not going to grasp the concept, are they? Because I'm going to be talking, as far as they're concerned, I'll be talking a lot of garbage to them. It's not going to make sense. So, and you also go on to say that through Sankofa, you can guarantee 100% matric pass rate. You also talk about transformation of low performing learners, that's the levels 1 to 3, into high achievers. What sort of time frame are you looking at here? How much of input and support, apart from Sankofa and the teaching staff, how much input and support would parents have to put in to get this child up to speed? Talk to us about that concept then.
Okay. Yes, in Sankofa, we employ exactly those tactics. When I interview for teachers, I look for two things. Number one, their communication skills. So they have to impress me there. And then number two, I look at I always ask questions that go to, why did the teacher land up in this field? Because a caring teacher is more impactful than a knowledgeable teacher. That one is standard. So I look for caring teachers because I know if a teacher cares, they themselves obsess about their child's performance or non-performance. We have reached 100% metric pass rate from 2014 since inception. Our first grade 12s were in 2015 though. And to this date, we've reached that milestone because fundamentally, as I said, And you have to consider the fact that we meet with learners once a week on Saturdays. So we don't have the 5 days that a teacher in the classroom has. But I always say the 5 days must be qualitative. You must have a clear plan. You must know the exact outcomes that you want. And you must make sure that you achieve them before you move to the next topic. And what we use as a model is that we only move when the last learner understands, because we know that learners learn at a different rate. So we follow the rate of the slowest. If the slowest learner understands, then we know everyone else understands. So that's the key I use. I never rush my tutors. I always tell them it's better for you to finish only 60% of the curriculum, but they understand 80% of the content, than 200% of the curriculum and they only understand 20% of the content. So that has been our recipe and our formula. And higher qualified teachers, you are true in the fact that uh, the teacher needs to be well versed in the content. A teacher who can explain to a grade 5-year-old the concept, they themselves don't understand the concept. If you are very good at something, you know how to break it down to its molecular level. You can explain it to everyone, a doctor or a grade 1 learner. So the understanding and the capacity, that's also crucially important.
Okay, so the all important question, you guarantee through Sankofa tutorials 100% pass rates. You also said just now when you were responding to me that different children develop at different rates. Children are all different. You have visual learners, you have audio learners, etc. How do you then accommodate children who probably present with ADHD or some other form of learning difficulty or disability? Can you guarantee through Sankofa 100% results with them as well, given that you only spend once a week with them?
Well, it depends if the condition is clinical, because even with the learning barrier conditions, there are those that are clinical, and the government has schools for learners like that, where they do trades and artisans and they work with their hands. However, if the problem is not on that level, if it's medium, then yes, we can do it. It does take a longer period of time, but we do it. Recently, after June exams, we had a meeting with my staff and we were analyzing the results. And when they analyzed the results and they were telling me, because I would ask, why is this learner not performing? Why is that one not performing? Then they would tell me. And then I would tell them that, the answers that you gave me, they answer your problem. Because if you are telling me that this learner is not learning because they are ADHD, for example, they can't sit still for a very long time, then it means you must structure your lessons in such a way that every 5 to 7 minutes, there must be an active activity to also accommodate this one that can sit the whole 45 minutes or an hour still in a classroom. You must bring pictures. You must accommodate for the learners who are visual. So some of my teachers, one of my teachers that I had in NST and NS, she used to sometimes go take them to the grounds outside and teach outside when she was teaching photosynthesis and things like that. And the impact it had, one of the parents said to me, since my child has attended there, even when we drive with the car, she'll be pointing at plants and saying, Mommy, look at this plant. It does this, it can breathe, whatever, whatever. So
Wow.
you make the lesson more concrete to the learners. And I always push my teachers that, what, make sure that you accommodate everyone. I don't want to hear a teacher complaining about the learner. If you are complaining about the learner, it means you as a teacher are the one who's failing.
Tsietsi, we need to wrap up in a minute or two. The all important question then, obviously, this Sankofa tutorials hasn't been rolled out throughout the country to all of the schools, which it should do. Why has it not happened? Is it about cost? And is it about non-buy-in by government, the education department? Because this sounds too good to be true, and it should be. It should be in all the schools. It should be part and parcel of any school you attend. And how, what is so magical about Sankofa tutorials?
One of the reasons Sankofa hasn't rolled out is because although I'm a teacher by profession, I didn't understand the business aspect of it. Because it's very expensive to run an organization like Sankofa, to pay qualified tutors, to make sure that all the resources that are needed are there. So I was still learning that part of the business, but now I think I have it nailed down. And then the second problem when it comes to rolling it out to other institutions throughout the country is space availability. Sometimes you find difficulty when you communicate with schools that, can I rent out your facility? This is the program. This is what I want to do. It will also benefit the school. You find that there's a push and pull there. So those are the two main problems I've had in terms of expansion. But now we have a partnership with Noordwijk Secondary School in Midrand. We'll be launching a branch there. And then we have a partnership with Langaville Secondary in Ekurhuleni. We'll be launching another branch there. Currently, we have a branch here in Soweto Protea Glen Primary School, number 2. And then I am still looking for another branch in Val and in Centurion. So next year, we will be trying to now roll out this plan throughout the country. But again, one of the reasons that I didn't do that was that I needed to make sure that I nailed the plan. I needed to make sure that when I do roll out this thing, I am 100% sure that it works to the point that the results might seem unbelievable, but it's been proven to
Okay.
be hard. Yeah.
We've got to leave it there, but a very short, quick answer, please. Have you had any failures with your Sankofa tutorials? Let's be honest.
With
Have you had
other
any
learners,
failures?
with other grades, yes, but not in grade 12.
Oh, okay. So you've got to go back to the drawing board, don't you?
No, you know why? Sometimes they join too late, like term 4. So you can't really
Okay.
turn around the learner that quick.
All right. It was lovely talking with you. Please continue your big dream in bringing all South African learners up to speed. It was really, really interesting. God bless and thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely
11 after 9 o'clock, we're into the second hour of news and views right here on Salam Media. And let me remind you that this hour is brought to you by Africa Muslims Agency. And also in this hour, we will be listening to the Fired Up series with Hafiz Imran Chunara. He is a personal excellence mentor and also the CEO of Africa Muslims Agency. The clip that we're going to take a listen to today is Seek First to Understand.